After what happened when Dave tried to copy Mr. Beast with literally no budget, you'd think he'd take a break. Maybe sit on the couch, watch some TV, eat something bad for him. And honestly, he did, for like 3 days. But then he found himself at 1 a.m. reading some forum post about how Elon Musk once said the most important thing isn't money, it's identifying a problem worth solving. And Dave, being Dave, took that way too seriously. So here's the question Dave got stuck on. What would Elon Musk actually do if he woke up tomorrow with $0, 0 connections, and no reputation? Not the billionaire version, the nobody version. Could his way of thinking still work? Dave decided to find out. On himself. Like a human experiment that nobody asked for. This is that story. First thing Dave does is grab a notebook. Not a laptop, not an app, an actual paper notebook, because he'd read somewhere that writing things down makes you think differently. He doesn't fully believe that, but he tries it anyway. He writes at the top of the first page, "What problem can I solve that people actually have?" Simple question. Turns out, incredibly hard to answer. He stares at it for about 20 minutes. He writes down traffic, and then crosses that out because he can't solve traffic. He writes loneliness, and crosses that out too. He writes people hate doing their taxes, and then just sits there thinking about how he also hates doing his taxes and doesn't know how to do anyone else's either. This is not going well. But here's the thing, and this is actually the first real insight Dave stumbles onto. He realizes he's been trying to think of problems from nowhere, just pulling ideas from the air. Musk didn't do that. He looked at things that already existed, things that were broken or slow or unnecessarily painful, and asked why they were still like that. So Dave changes the question. Instead of what problem exists in the world, he asks, what annoyed me this week? That's a much easier list to write. He writes down 7 things. Parking was confusing at a new place he went to. His phone charger was tangled again. He couldn't find a local plumber that had actual reviews he trusted. Grocery store self-checkout kept asking for attendant approval for no reason. He paid for a subscription he forgot he had. His gym bag smells and he keeps forgetting to deal with it. Normal, boring, everyday stuff. He looks at the list and circles the plumber one because that one felt different. He'd actually spent 40 minutes last month trying to find someone local and trustworthy to fix something small and ended up just not fixing it at all because the process was annoying. And he bets other people do the same thing. Now, he's not going to build an app. He's not a developer. He doesn't have money to hire one. But the Musk thing he keeps thinking about isn't about building apps. It's about seeing clearly, then moving fast with whatever you have. What does Dave have? A phone, some time, the ability to talk to people. That's it. That's the whole toolkit. He spends the next 2 hours just researching, not building anything, not spending anything, just learning. He looks up local handymen and plumbers in his area. He checks their Google profiles. Most of them either have no reviews or reviews from 4 years ago. A few have no photos. Some don't even have their hours listed correctly. And then Dave notices something that stops him mid-scroll. One guy, local plumber, been in business 12 years, has 43 5-star reviews, but his last one is 8 months ago. His website looks like it was built in 2009. He has no Instagram, no Facebook page worth mentioning, and his Google listing says might not be open because nobody's updated it. Dave thinks this guy is probably really good and nobody knows about it. That's a problem, and it's one Dave might actually be able to do something about. He calls the plumber, just cold calls him. This part is uncomfortable. Dave is not a natural salesman, and he knows it. He actually rehearses what he's going to say 3 times before dialing, which helps a little, and then the guy answers on the first ring and Dave immediately forgets the first line anyway. But he gets through it. He explains that he found him online, noticed his profile wasn't very up to date, and asks if he'd be open to a quick conversation about it. The plumber, whose name is Gary, is confused but not unfriendly. He says, "Sure, what have you got?" Dave pitches something he made up roughly 20 minutes ago. He'll update Gary's Google profile, take some photos of his work truck and equipment, help him respond to old reviews, and set up a basic Facebook page, all for free, as a trial, to see if it actually brings Gary more calls. Gary asks what Dave gets out of it. Dave says if it works, Gary pays him a small monthly fee to keep it managing. There's a long pause, and that's where things got interesting. Gary says yes. Not enthusiastically, kind of skeptically, but yes. Dave hangs up and sits quietly for a second, because he just got his first client for a service he invented an hour ago, with no money spent. That's actually the Musk thing working. Not in a build rockets way, in a tiny, unglamorous, sitting in his apartment way, but still. He goes to meet Gary the next morning, takes photos on his phone, updates the Google profile, writes a short bio that actually sounds like a human being wrote it, sets up a Facebook page with a cover photo and a clear description of what Gary does and what area he serves. It takes about 4 hours total. Now here's where Dave's discipline, or lack of it, becomes the real problem. After setting everything up, Dave feels done. He feels like he did the thing. Job complete. He almost doesn't follow up for 3 days, which would have killed the whole experiment before it had any data. But he catches himself, sets a reminder, calls Gary on day 3 to ask if anything changed. Gary says he got 2 calls that week from people who found him on Google. He usually gets maybe 1 a month from there. He doesn't know if it's the update, but it happened right after. Dave doesn't oversell it. He just says, "Good sign, let's keep watching." Week 2, Gary gets 4 calls online, leaves Dave a voicemail saying, "I don't know what you did, but keep doing it." Dave charges him $80 a month, which is not a lot. He knows that. But it's real money. Money he made from his phone, from paying attention, from calling a stranger. No investment, no special skills, no connections, just noticing something that was broken and offering to help fix it. But $80 a month isn't financial freedom. Dave's not delusional. So he tries to repeat the thing. He spends 2 days going through local businesses in his area, mostly service businesses, the kind that live and die on word of mouth and online visibility. Electricians, cleaners, landscapers, a guy who fixes appliances out of his van. He cold calls 8 of them. 5 don't answer. 1 is rude. 1 is interested but then goes quiet. 1 says yes. So now Dave has 2 clients, $160 a month. He's not quitting his job, but he's also only 2 weeks into this, has spent nothing, and built something from a thought he had at 1 a.m. That's not nothing. The interesting part, and Dave genuinely did not expect this, is that the hard part was never the skill. He learned everything he needed from YouTube in an afternoon. The hard part was the phone call, the asking, the part where you say, "Here's what I can do," to a stranger and wait to see if they say yes. Elon Musk talks about reasoning from first principles, breaking things down to what's actually true, not what you assume is true. Dave doesn't have an engineering brain, but applying that to a tiny, boring, local problem, it kind of worked. Look at what's actually broken. Don't assume you need money to fix it. Find the smallest version of a solution and test it. Dave also realizes something else, something a little uncomfortable. The reason most people don't try this isn't because it's hard, it's because it's awkward. And awkward feels like hard. But it's not. By the end of the month, Dave has 3 paying clients, $230 coming in. He's not going to retire. He still has the job, still has the routine, still loses 3 hours some evenings to doing absolutely nothing useful. But there's something different now. He has proof that a thought can become money without starting with money. That's the thing he wanted to test, and it held up. Not perfectly, not in the way the YouTube thumbnails promise, but in a real, slow, slightly uncomfortable way that actually happened. He didn't become Elon Musk, obviously. He became Dave with 3 small business clients and an $80 monthly invoice system he built in Google Docs. But here's what stays with him. The gap between 0 and something is mostly just one uncomfortable phone call. Maybe 2. He's going to keep building this. He doesn't know how big it gets. He doesn't know if it's the thing or just a stepping stone to something else. But it's real. And speaking of things that might not be real, next, Dave's going to try every side hustle that keeps going viral on TikTok. The ones where people show the money and never show the work. The ones where the comments are full of, "This changed my life," and also somehow full of people asking, "Wait, does this actually work though?" Dave's going to find out. And if the MrBeast video taught us anything, it's that finding out usually involves at least one moment where Dave really regrets his decisions. That one's coming soon. Don't miss where it goes.